the community of the internet is so powerful. It's scary. I call it like the great fire of my life. I lost my home in LA. I moved to a totally different city.
Slowing down doesn't mean you're losing. Not just as a business owner, content creator, whatever you do in life, slowing down is really a part of the process.
Sometimes a rejection is actually a blessing. Oh yeah, like that totally did happen so that this could happen.
You feel like maybe this have helped shape your path in that way. If you're dreaming of publishing your first book, or maybe you want to start your personal brand online, or be a full-time content creator in 2025 and go viral, this episode is for you. Today's guest, a very beautiful person, Christina, has done all of that, but not the easy way. She went from rejection and depression to writing viral videos that literally scaled to over 100 million views, and right back to rejection and depression. From freelancing just to stay afloat to signing a book deal with Penguin Random House, all while healing from burnout, heartbreak, and the kind of chaos most of us don't talk about. This conversation is for the storytellers, the soft hustlers, and for the creators who are still figuring it out as they go. Today we will be covering what it really takes to write your first book, go viral in 2025, survive a burnout, and rebuild your identity, personally and creatively. And now, let's get into it. Christina, welcome.
Hi. Oh my gosh, that was so kind. I love the term soft hustlers. I love that. I'm gonna call myself that from now on. That's exactly right.
Exactly. And actually, I saw a lot about you. I mean, you have done a book deal, and in the same time, you're building your personal brand online. You're really passionate about mental health. So I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, of course. Well, a brief overview. My background is in writing. I have a master's degree from USC in professional writing, and I ended up kind of following a really weird path into writing for the internet. And while I was doing that, I had a lot of struggling with mental health. And once I started talking about it online, I think kind of randomly at first, I noticed that people were saying, "Oh my gosh, I feel the same way. I'm so glad you said something." And so from then on, I was like, "Oh, I want to be as vocal about this as possible," because I think society wants us to be embarrassed about those feelings, and I don't feel embarrassed about that. I feel embarrassed, I don't know, about other things, but definitely not about feeling sad. So I'm happy to talk
Exactly,
about that.
100%. And I do believe that in 2025, we should be more bold about mental health. Like at this point, when we look at the previous generations and how a lot of things went wrong, is literally because they weren't aware of themselves. They weren't aware about their mental health. They weren't aware about many things. And this is why a lot of, messed up things happened. So the thing is, it's extremely important that, yeah, we do reflect
Mhm.
back into who we are, what we're meant to do, and in the same time be able to support others who are also trying to find their path.
Definitely. Yes. And also really making it clear that the path is different for every single person and the path is constantly changing.
Absolutely, yes. And that's also really important to remember because especially right now with social media, we're always and constantly like comparing ourselves to other people. And we're like, okay, we want this
Mhm.
life, we want this car, we want that. And we don't realize that maybe we can get all of that, but that doesn't mean we're going to be happy because we're trying to pick other people's paths in that way.
Mhm. Yes, definitely. There's a section in my book which came out about a year ago. It's called Fucking Deal With It, and it's based in acceptance and commitment therapy. And there's a whole section about
Wow.
jealousy. It's just about writing out what makes you jealous, who are you jealous of, and then getting into it like, why are you really jealous of it? I realized that I am often jealous of how things look, or I'm often jealous of how people spend their time. I realized like when I would go on social media and see, a super like cut fitness model, showing off their muscles. I realized that I was jealous that they were taking time for fitness during their day. So then when I started making a little time for fitness, I mean, obviously not becoming a bodybuilder or anything, I started feeling a lot better. So we can learn from our jealousy except it's so easy to get consumed by it, and social media is just a rabbit
No,
hole.
but
It's
that's a very
really hard.
interesting section. I'm gonna definitely make sure to read it.
Oh my gosh, that would be
And
awesome.
if you
I'm
would
so
love to
happy to hear
read
that.
Christina's book, we're going to be leaving the link down in the description. Also, yes,
Thank you.
so your second video got 60 million views. How did you make it go viral?
Oh my goodness. Well, this was in 2016, I think. It was right around what I call the BuzzFeed boom, which is where companies were starting to make videos for Facebook, and Facebook made it super easy to share. Everyone was sharing multiple videos a day. So I noticed that they were making videos about kind of like everyday, like mundane things that feel relatable, and you could just feel like, oh yeah, hey, that's me, and literally share it and say, this is me. It was almost like a Hallmark card, this is how I feel in a minute or under. And I was freelance writing for a site called Hello Giggles. It was Zoe Deschanel's company. And the first video that I ever made, I realized that no one had said the word periods in like any video that I had seen on Facebook at all. So I made a video that was just like thoughts you have
Oh,
on your period. And my favorite joke was the feeling of when you sneeze and you can't tell if your tampon.
exactly. Actually, this is true. Periods are not often discussed even openly, like even with your friends. Like sometimes if you're a girl and you want to hang out even like with a group of both guys and girls and you want to tell them that I'm very tired, I'm feeling sick today,
Yep.
you cannot just say that, oh, okay, I have my period. No, you have to be like, I'm just very sick today. And then they have to go into this whole integration, like, all right, wait, what's wrong with you? Do you need to go to a doctor? And then I'm like, you know what, guys, I just have my period. Leave me alone, okay? So then you have to, like, why?
Yes. Like if I could go to the doctor and they could
Exactly.
make it feel better, I would do it.
Awesome. All right. So,
Yeah, and then so I'm really glad that I did that, and I think that encouraged me. And so the next video that I made was so simple. It was actually inspired by I Love Lucy. I used to love her. I mean, I still love Lucille Ball's like physical comedy. And so in that vein of like, oh my gosh, what's a very mundane problem that I have? I made a video about just that feeling of when you start putting on eyeliner and you put it on one eye and it's perfect, and then you start putting it on the other eye and it's a little off. So then you keep adding it, and the next thing you know, you have raccoon eyes, and then you have to start over. And it was a really simple video, but it also didn't really rely on language. There was no speaking in the video. It was almost
yeah.
like miming. And so I got so lucky. It just was viewed all over the world. And that's how it got to be like 60 million views, because it transcended language. I think that
Exactly.
frustration
No, I think
of
this is a very important point.
just
Like
doing your
for
makeup.
creators, specifically who want to start creating content in 2025, I think one thing that made your content really stand out is that you made people feel heard. You were able to speak about one of their issues very openly, and at the same time, like tell them, I get you, I get your feeling, I am living the same thing. So the thing is, like, you can just imagine if somebody feels unheard in some specific topics, but then you come and talk about it openly, and then there's like millions of views and then there's like thousands of engagements and so on, and people are like, oh wait, I'm not alone. So this is how you literally reach to people's hearts, and this is why it went viral.
Yeah, and the best part about that video, hands down, is the comment section was people all over the world giving me advice on how to do the eyeliner without being frustrated. Like, here's my favorite kind. Here's a trick my
Yeah.
grandma taught me. Like, it was so beautiful. The
Exactly, you get to learn
caring.
a lot, honestly, and just imagine cultures from all around the world, they're just engaging, they're like, girl, we got you, we do this in our country, you have to try to do that. So that's amazing, you literally like reached worldwide, and at the same time you got a lot of new tips and valuable insights as well.
Definitely, yes. And just faith in humanity, because the internet is can be a very, very negative place, especially in terms of looks. And when you're a woman and people want to comment on your looks, to have people instead being like, hey, I got you, that's like
True.
huge.
And actually, speaking
Huge.
of that, like have you seen that just like some videos, they have no absolute value, but just because the girl is really pretty, somehow it goes viral. It can reach to literally billions. I was never able to understand that. Like, is it just because, yeah, that person is like, all right, I'm enjoying to look at them and stuff like that, so that's why it has more watch time and it goes viral, or what is it? But I do believe that looks do play a role, and I think as well this is why people who get started on social media and they want to become content creators, they want to show themselves more. I think you think like, yeah, there is a part of it, I believe personally, that it makes you more confident because you get to practice a lot in front of the camera, you know, people are watching you. But then I believe there is a part that definitely dims your light a little bit and makes you, wait, that creator is prettier than me. That creator did her nose, that creator did her cheeks. And so the thing is,
Yeah,
sometimes this is one of the things that could make you feel genuinely insecure as well. Because imagine like you invest a lot of time creating your content, trying to research something that really matters to people. But then in the end, somebody
yeah.
who puts like zero effort would just go viral. So I was like, taking your thoughts on that.
That can be really hard. The self-comparison can be very difficult. And what I want to say is just don't do that. Just don't compare yourself to other people. And yeah, it's that easy. But I know that it's not. It's
Exactly.
pretty impossible. So, one thing I will say is that I think that with TikTok, I think in the last few years with TikTok, it's become more and more obvious that audiences really do care what you have to say, and they are way more interested in someone who's being genuine.
Mhm.
And sometimes gorgeous people are being genuine, and
True.
that's okay. And I think they reach people, but I also think that the playing field has been leveled more. And the more people talk about getting work done or filters, Photoshop, the more we all talk about it, I think the more we can all see it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anyone is like, boo, no one should get any work done, or oh, I see that person's using a filter and they're mad. It's just that now we're more aware of it. And so, in a way, we can say to that inner critic who's like, ew, you're so ugly compared to that person, you can say, well, yeah, but they're using filters. Or like, yeah, like, I don't know what they've been through. I don't, they, who knows? Ugh, I understand that frustration, but I also just so firmly believe, like from the bottom of my heart, that if your intention is to help people, then don't worry about how you look.
Yeah.
I mean, just feel good. So if it's a matter of, oh, I want to wear more makeup, then wear makeup in the spirit of, I love how this feels. I love how this
Yes.
looks. Not trying to appease anybody out there, because everybody likes something different too. So you might be the most gorgeous person in the world to someone, and you might be like butt ugly to somebody else.
True.
And I've seen that in comments literally just on videos that I've done, like people being like, "Oh, she's wearing too much makeup," or I used to get a lot of comments about my eyebrows for some reason, like people were really pissed off about my eyebrows. So rude. And then other people would be like, oh my gosh, I love how you did your eyebrows. So you just never know. You can't predict it. And
No,
if
I
you
love
spend
your
your
eyebrows.
brain power,
I love
thank you so
your
much.
eyebrows.
And you know what? At this point in my life, I love them too. And I don't care what people say about
Exactly, yes. And I think as a creator, it's important as well to remember that just like there will be negative people under your comment section saying mean things, there will also like be beautiful people who are supporting you, ready to go, you know, all the way. Have you seen some celebrities' fan base? It's scary. So the thing is,
it.
like,
Scary.
yeah, literally. So if you're
Yeah.
a creator, yes, you have to expect the negative comments, but in the same time, I think also expect that you're gonna probably build a community and a family online. So
Yeah.
it got both ways.
And I want to touch on something else. I think something that a lot of people don't talk about, like, I'm glad that we talk about the negative comments, but something else that's hard to deal with when you're creating stuff online is not getting any comments at all.
Oh yes.
Sometimes it just feels like you're yelling into the abyss. And I just want to say to those people who are struggling with that, because it's very real, that you never know who's watching. And also, think about you creating for your future audience. So think about the person who finds your profile someday through a video, through whatever, and they're like, I want to watch this person for hours.
Oh my God, yes.
Then you'll have somewhere for them to land. They'll be able to look back on all the times that you put yourself out there and feel seen and feel heard. And they might not be commenting, but they'll be there and they'll appreciate that you put it out there. So, yeah, the numbers are bonkers. It's so, especially for sensitive people. And I think in the past, like before internet, maybe you would do a painting or something and you would sell it and that would be the number, or maybe it's how many people came to your play, or you know how many people read your book, but it could only be printed so many times.
Yeah.
And now it's like every single day you feel like you need millions of people to watch you. And the thing that helps me sometimes is to imagine all of the people in a room. So if I get like 20 likes on something, I imagine 20 people in a room and I'm like, oh, that's like a pretty full room actually. Like that is a
That's a
solid
very
dinner
good way.
party.
Yeah, that's a very good way to look at it. It's really so true. If you're in a room and you get 20 likes or 20 views, even sometimes, this is like, just imagine you are some 20 people passed in front of your shop and they looked at it. All right, this is in terms of views. And then if someone likes it,
Yep.
they have held your product, told you, wow, what a good product it is. And then maybe they have let it down. And then if they go to your website, you've got a sale over there. So I don't know, it's a nice way as well to look at it in that perspective. So I agree. And I personally, I want to tell you something. So our agency doesn't entirely focus on organic content creation, but this year we started. So the thing is, about 3 months right now, we have been consistent on TikTok, and recently we went viral. But the thing is, we stayed consistent. So it's just, I'm saying it's really important that we do maintain consistency as well. You will see results, maybe
Yeah.
not in the short term, but just like have patience, literally.
Yeah. And you know what? It's always gonna be what you least expect. Like I have two friends, two of my high school friends. I love them so much. They posted like one video one time of my friend falling off a bed and got like 15,000 views. And they both were like, why did this happen? Like, please help. And
Yeah,
then I see people with like a full camera crew,
exactly. And
spending, yeah, you just never know.
actually, what is like your number one tip for someone who wants to go viral in 2025 right now?
It's interesting because my gut instinct is to say, don't want to go viral.
Mm,
Don't want to go viral. Instead, focus on a different intention. So, for instance, your agency, you are working on reaching new audiences, right? You're working on educating
yeah,
and you're working on bringing people together and creating a community. With those intentions, then you're succeeding every day. But if your intention is to go viral, then you just never know. You might never technically go viral. You might build an audience for years and years, and you may never get a million views. And you might be more successful than people who do in a lot of ways.
that's true. I 100% tell that even a lot to business owners. Like, I try to tell them that sometimes you may look at somebody, they have like 1 million follower. However, somebody or another agency with 5,000 followers, they could be making more in terms of revenue from that company. And these are straight facts. So the thing is, don't chase just the followers or the likes. They do not indicate the success of your agency. Even if you're in the marketing field, they never dictate the success of the agency that you're working on. So it's really important as well to look at this. I think it's in the end of the day the value that you're providing. So the thing is, like, I loved your content so much, and that's why I really wanted to do the episode with you. I felt like, okay, somebody who's passionate about mental health, and by the way, mental health is one of the most important parts that you need to be really self-aware why you want to go viral. All right, if you're going viral just to satisfy your ego, then that's one thing. But if you want to go viral because there's a cause that you want to reach as many people as possible, you want to help as many people as possible, is completely different feeling. All right, you're not gonna even,
Definitely.
it will push, yes, a very important thing is know your why. I believe to add that here.
Yeah, I love that. That will keep you afloat and it will keep you genuine. And yeah, I've even seen it in I do writing, I teach writing workshops, and that's the main thing we work on, honestly, is your why. Who are you making this for? Because if you are trying to make it for everyone, you're making it for no one. It will just be nothing. And you might get lucky. Maybe you do. Maybe one of your videos goes viral. You're gonna look at it and be like, so I have to keep doing that? That's what I have to keep doing? I just have to keep doing this like fluff?
Exactly. And sometimes it
If you
makes
didn't
you
like it,
angry.
yeah. And if your intention is, I just want to entertain people, then you'll feel a lot better if you're doing these trending audios and participating in these kind of trending jokes, but your intention is to entertain from your perspective, like, then yeah, you're gonna have fun. Then if you're having fun, then it's worth it. Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. Like in the end of the day, I think you do want to work because if you want to take content creation as a full time, it's something you need to enjoy. And it's something that you need to also
Mhm.
have a strategy with it.
Yeah, I think we were talking about how you need to pick your problems
Yeah,
because every single thing ever, every option, every job, anything comes with problems. And full-time content creation, we've seen, I don't know if you remember, there was this phase on YouTube where all of the kind of initial YouTube stars were all making these videos like, I'm burned out, I don't feel good, I'm
yeah,
sad. It was like a classic almost, like,
yeah.
and it's so sad that they felt that they even had to make a video about that to tell people about it. But also, it was a gift because we can see that even the most on the outside successful people do have problems. And if you love making the content, then you have that part of the process to look forward to. And so the problems will be worth it.
Absolutely. And actually, speaking of that, I actually have two questions regarding how do you plan your content. So the first one is, yes, sorry. So first,
No, I love it.
oh, okay, awesome. So I would love to know more about how do you plan your content in a way that you don't burn out. So I think let's go over that first.
My strategy since the pandemic has been to do what feels good. When we were in lockdown and TikTok was blowing up, I would open it and feel this really dark feeling of like, I'm supposed to be making things, I'm supposed to be making people laugh. And I had nothing because so much of my material was coming from everyday life. And in that time, everyday life was not funny to me. I just didn't think it was funny at all. And I was really grateful for the people who were being humorous and creating comedy out of almost, it felt like out of thin air, but I couldn't do it. So I had to recalibrate. And since then, I always am journaling. I always keep a list of ideas of things that I want to make something about. And when it comes time to start making the content, I look at that list of ideas and I think, well, there are so many methods to this. I could make a video. And if I make a video, do I want it to be short or do I want it to be longer? Do I want it to be live? Do I just want to go live and just talk to people and not have to worry about editing, not polishing it? Or is this something that I could write about on my Substack, which has been honestly where I've been putting most of my energy because sitting down and writing and letting it sit for a little while and coming back to it and then editing it myself. I've been doing little illustrations. Like that feels so good right now. And to be totally frank, this method that I'm doing is not smart business. I'm not I'm not making money from my content how I used to, but I don't think I could have gone on that way, honestly. It's just a time in my career where I've had to take outside work, and that's totally fine. I'm using other talents that I have and saving my creative energy for, like I said, like what feels good.
Exactly. And I think even if you're slowing down right now, but this will give you at least the mental clarity to find what's best for you. Because sometimes if you're just rushing so fast, and I have to admit, I personally have done this mistake, and especially initially when I started my business, I was completely burnt out. I wanted to try everything, I wanted to do a lot. And then I realized that how can I call my business? I'm out of strategies and I don't have a strategy. So this is when I actually had to pause. And this is probably my first time to ever say this. I had to pause and I had to think back that no, I have to have a focused strategy and I have to slow down. Because if I keep going that way, I'm going to completely crash out, not just mentally, I'm going to even crash out my business. So when I took that route, this is how I was able to save my business. So that's why I am completely supportive of you slowing down right now. Even if you're not making the same amount of money that you used to before, that's completely fine. This will help you into even having more creative ideas that probably if you were making 2x, maybe you can get an idea that will make you 3x or 4x. So the thing is, this is literally the best part about slowing down. Slowing down doesn't mean you're losing. Like, this is the one thing that I really want to emphasize about not just as a business owner, content creator, whatever you do in life, slowing down is really a part of the process.
I need to hear that. I'm so glad you said that. That's, yeah, I need to hear that all the time because it's the internet makes it look like people are doing things all the time too.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, I'm so impressed by you.
Oh, no, me
I think that
more.
no, I'm just so I think you have a gift of self-reflection and being able to see your journey from kind of a bird's eye view and being able to put into words how to help other people. And I think that's really special.
Thank you so much. I think there was a very nice quote I read sometime that always makes me tear up for some reason. Is that we grow up to be the version that our little self wanted to feel safe around.
Oh my
Oh,
God, yeah.
oh God. But literally, this is a true statement. Like, we try our best to become the person we needed when we were children. So maybe I wanted somebody who's strong, maybe I wanted somebody who listens, maybe I wanted someone who knows really what they want. And by the way, it's okay not to know what you want. Like, I think it's really completely normal. But by the way, thank you so much. Really, it means a lot to me.
No, I love that quote. I'm gonna think about that.
No. Okay, so next question I actually want to ask you is how do you plan content that performs but still feels like authentic and aesthetic to you?
And right now, I think that the way to create content that performs is using those trending audios. And you can do that by, clicking on those audios and looking at what everyone else is doing and doing your own version of that. Or you can say, oh, I see why this is working and I'm going to create my own version of it outside of this. So recently I had a hit with I so I played Dungeons and Dragons
Oh,
on a live show and it's currently my creative joy. I did not think I would love it this much. And we were making content for the show and I see these videos where people use a sound that's like, okay, couples questions, and they just close their eyes and point at each other. And it's just like, who's the messiest? You point at each other, and like, who said I love you first? You point to each other. So my D&D group was so generous with their time, and I wrote a script that was pretty much the same thing except about D&D. So it's like, which one of you rolls the nat 20 the most? Which one of you is going to have a villain arc? And it was really fun to make. So we're all pointing at each other. I think the goal was one, to show our D&D show and to invite people into that community, but also to create a sound that other D&D campaigns can use. That's really what I thought was so exciting. I can't wait to see other people using it so I can see their friendship and the vibes and like the dynamics. So yeah, that's been like a recent hit where I just feel like it was looking at what's trending but being true to ourselves.
yes, absolutely. And also now, one of the hot things that I really want to discuss with you is about your deal with Penguin Random House. So how did you actually make this deal happen? Like, what exactly made your pitch stand out?
Oh my gosh. So it came about in a very unusual way that book deals don't usually happen. So I have to start out with saying that I'm extremely lucky,
Oh.
like a lot. What happened was an editor reached out and said, "Hey, we have an idea for a workbook. We want it based in acceptance and commitment therapy. And we've seen your work, your content based in mental health." I think they had seen my videos. And at that time, I had a podcast called Sobcast the Podcast, where I talked about my anxiety poop. And I'm glad that they could see that I really cared about mental health, but I also really cared about being funny and making it entertaining as well as educational. So I had the opportunity to create that pitch. And I honestly think that what made it stand out was that I was completely myself. Like, it was really tempting to fall into that voice of like, "Dear sir or madam, please accept my book proposal henceforth," because that's what we're taught in school
Yes.
to write very rigidly. And I wanted it to sound like me because excuse me, when I write books, I want them, I want them to be genuine, and I want them to be authentic, and I want them to be funny. I want it to feel like I'm your friend and I'm sitting with you, because that's what I want to be, honestly, sitting with you while you're parsing out, what makes you jealous on social media. I want it to feel like we're hanging out. So I submitted that. I didn't hear anything. Totally thought that's fine, someone else got it. That
Mm.
was really cool that I got to do that, and I got to see what a book pitch even looks like. And then they came back and said, "Okay, let's do this." And I immediately started researching. I had done acceptance and commitment therapy. I was really lucky. I had a therapist that gave me that workbook years and years before, but I did the whole work, like the book by Stephen C. Hayes, which of course I'm totally forgetting the title of right now, but it's the Acceptance and Commitment Therapy Workbook. It's like the ACT Bible. I did all of that again. I cried. I had to like go through my own shit and take notes like I was a student again, and then translate that into something funny and something that was less devastating, and something that honestly, when I was writing it, I really wanted people to do it like on the toilet.
No.
I was like, I just want you to just like, when you have like 5 minutes, I want you to just
No.
pull out this book and have a nice little think.
I think with even this way, like with you turning it to be more like in the comedy side, this is how people felt like their mental health issues. It's something that they can discuss. All right. So this is, I think, the first thing. And at the same time, they felt like, oh wow, wait, this girl in the comments is saying that she relates to this habit that I do that I thought it was like so shameful and I can't talk about it. But no, it's literally in the open, and there is this person making a video about it. So now I can completely like get it as well. So I do agree 100% about you being genuine. I think it's not just about you like with creating content. It even comes with you publishing a book. Like, yeah, sometimes having a great book is, of course, one of the most important factors. But also, beside that, is you being a genuine person and you speaking the language of the people who you want them to read. Like one of the biggest misconceptions I've read a lot with writers. So they would tend to use like complex words because they would think that in that way they're gonna seem, like a Shakespeare of 2025, and I don't know what. But
Oh
that's
my
not the
God,
truth.
totally.
Well, that's not the truth. Yeah.
No, that's one of my favorite things to address in writing workshops. Just the undoing of all the training we have, I think, in school, or even when we read books that maybe do have that kind of language. Using the simplest word is the best way to write, in my opinion. And something else that I really have worked on a lot is that balance between, you know, where's the line between laughing about mental health and making fun of it?
Mm.
And I never, ever, ever, because I think that people struggling with mental health and facing it are so brave and amazing. And I want that to shine through everything I do. That I'm a fan. I'm a fangirl of people facing their shit. So making sure that I was always making fun of the situations we end up in rather than the actual people or the actual mental health struggle
Very
is
important
really
point.
important to me.
Yes, exactly. Very important point. 100%. There's a big difference in the person who's struggling and the kind of struggle itself. And even there's a limit. After that limit, we shouldn't even joke about it. So 100%
Absolutely.
on that. And it's a very good thing that you know the difference. Some people can literally get canceled on the internet because they don't. But people who are sensitive and at the same time they have like that emotional intelligence like you, they know how to tell the difference and they know how to feel relatable, but without belittling the issue, basically.
Yes, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah.
100%. And actually, you wrote the book in 3 months, like while you were healing.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been
Oh my.
quite difficult for you. Like, how did you push through?
Yeah, I had been through just a super traumatic, not just a breakup, but just, I call it like the great fire of my life. I lost my home in LA. I moved to a totally different city where I really only knew one person. And the breakup also, it wasn't just personal, it was also business. It was the person that I collaborated with on pretty much all my creative projects. So it actually felt pretty scary, but eventually empowering that I was writing the book by myself. Because I think in the past it would have been something where I would have been showing that person drafts and being like, does this feel right? Or is it watching their face while they read it and being like, is this funny? And even though it was scary, I'm so proud of myself. And I can't believe that the project that I got to kind of prove that I could be my own creative rock
Yeah.
was a book. Like, that's so cool. Yeah, I only had 3 months to write it, which was just, the book publishing business is wild.
Yeah.
I learned so much, and the biggest thing that takes the most time is the printing of the book. So, in order to get it out as soon as possible, I think I had to finish it really quickly. And in some ways, I think it was kind of a blessing because I couldn't overthink things. It just, okay, this is it. This is what I get to do. And, I got to revise it and stuff. But, oh, yeah, even thinking about it gives me like like a little heart. Like, I remember I finished my last page, which is the last page. I usually write in order of the way that the book actually is. And so I wrote the last page on the day of my best friend's wedding. And I like hit enter, pretty sure hit send, went to the wedding and was like crying and so happy for her. And then right after the wedding was done, I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep. And I took a nap and fell asleep for 3 hours
Oh my
and then
God.
just got back up.
Oh, God, I can't. I mean, you must have been very exhausted.
Yeah, I didn't realize it, I think, until I had like the relief, I was like, oh, it really is out of me. Like, whew, time for a nap. I fell asleep. I think I fell asleep face down
Oh
on
my
a
God,
pillow, like my
no.
butt in the
All right. And what's actually like your advice for first-time authors, like especially those who are struggling with structure and timing?
admit it when something's hard, for sure, is the best advice I can give. Because just like how we feel called to kind of put on this air of like, ooh, I'm a fancy writer, I think that also applies to how we're trying to show up as writers. Like, oh, I already know everything.
Mm.
I already know about structure. I have studied this, or I have done this workshop, whatever. It's going to make your life so much easier if you're just like, I need help with something, and then finding the person who can help you. There's a reason that in books there's like a long list of acknowledgments at the end. Like, people, you need help. There's the idea that you are acting in a vacuum is an illusion and it's not real. So reach out to other people.
True. And I think it's not just with writing a book. I think it's with everything. All right. Now I know Christina, the content creator, and I know Christina, the author. Now I would love to know Christina at the beginning of her journey. So how was it?
When I was in college, I thought I wanted to be an English professor, and I did everything to start that path. I even did a semester at Oxford, which was crazy.
Oh,
And actually, it was there that I was like, this is really great, but I don't think I want to be studying what other people have written. I think I want to be the person writing it,
yeah.
which was kind of devastating actually, because I had this whole plan. So then I had to figure something else out. And I come from a family of doctors and a lot of scientists, and it was common in my family to go for the absolute highest degree you possibly could. So I went and got a master's degree in writing, and that was life changing. It brought me to Los Angeles. I met some of my greatest collaborators while I was there, who I still are some of my best friends. I got really lucky while I was in school. I started interning at a Los Angeles magazine. And then as I was graduating, I actually got to help them create like their first car blog. It was like their first ever sponsored blog. And that should give you some indication of how long ago this was, that this was a blog. We were creating a blog in WordPress. And it was so thrilling. And my goal was just that I want to be able to write about anything. I just want to be able to write about anything as long as I can do it in my voice. And so I would go to these crazy car events in Beverly Hills, and I would write about it from the point of view of someone who accidentally called a Porsche a Lamborghini, and like the whole party went like and I was just like, okay, sorry. Then after doing that, I started freelance writing, and I didn't realize how hard that can be on your psyche, because you just never know what's coming. You can have weeks where it's so much work and you're so stressed because you have to get everything in, and no matter how much you love what you're doing, the deadlines are very stressful. The trying to make enough money is very stressful. So I set out to find a full-time job, and it was right around the time where BuzzFeed was making those videos that was like, if you were a cat, or like feelings you have in the morning. And they were writing those articles with all the gifs, all it was the listicles and it was the BuzzFeed quizzes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want to be doing. And I got an interview. I went in, I had to write like three different articles, and they actually went viral. They put them on the front page,
Oh,
and it was like I was writing about like Pretty Little Liars, which I loved at the time, and
oh.
I was just so like, oh, like this is a shoe in, like I into this work, like I am so. And then I got rejected, and
Mm.
I was getting rejected from a lot of things at, applying for jobs at that time, but for some reason BuzzFeed just really it I was like, well, if I can't do that, I maybe I'm not meant to do this at all. Even at the same time, then I trying to get like internships. Like it was kind of like I was kind of getting a little desperate. And I tried to get an internship at Hello Giggles, ended up also getting rejected from that. But the person that I interviewed with, we really clicked, and she was like, well, why don't you pitch me some stuff? It sucks that we can't work together in this way, but maybe you could write every once in a while. And then that eventually turned into me writing like 5 posts a day. Sometimes on the weekend I got like the early morning shift where it'd be like 7 a.m. to 2, just writing as much as you can, like 10 articles. I think it was just a lesson that you really don't know what's best for you ever.
True.
Because then doing that, I feel like I learned how to write really fast. I learned how to spot trends. I was looking to these big websites like BuzzFeed and Refinery 29 and Bustle were all sites that really inspired me. And I was really witnessing this shift from magazines to online publications. And eventually that led to turning that knowledge into video. And that changed my life. So it's silly, but you just never know. Like sometimes a rejection is actually a blessing. It is important to look back on your life and your career and be like, oh yeah, like that totally did happen so that this could happen.
Do you feel like this was actually like the break you needed? Like after you got rejected from BuzzFeed, you feel like maybe this have helped shape your path in that way?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think at that point I didn't think I was allowed to take any kind of break or stop to think, what does this mean? I just felt really hurt and I felt like I had to just keep pushing. And I don't think I really understood what a blessing all that rejection at that time was until maybe even recently, honestly. Like just the self-reflection because I think it was because of those stupid like 30 under 30 lists. I really had this terrible expectation on myself that I had to be super successful before I turned 30. And so when I was like 26 and like trying to work for big companies, I was like, if I don't do that, then I'm a failure.
There's one advice you would want to, tell maybe your 25 self, or maybe you would want to, you're talking to a 25-year-old girl, woman, and you want to tell her something. What do you think you would want to tell her?
Don't use your credit card.
Oh, yes, exactly.
That's what I would
I don't
say.
even use a credit card, to be honest. Like, that's
Yeah,
completely
you're
off.
so smart. I mean, on a serious note, I would say pay attention to your finances and talk to people who know what they're doing in terms of finances, especially if you want to work in a job where you don't know what's coming next
Mhm.
or you don't, it's very unpredictable.
You spoke about finances, which is a very important topic. So, if like new creatives who are getting, happy with the hype and the followers and so on, what is the one thing you
Mhm.
wish they knew about finances?
Savings is basically paying yourself in the future.
Hmm.
I always thought I think of savings as like, oh, for like my house someday, which is probably never going to happen. It's actually you're paying your future self.
Yeah,
And I think this is kind of blanket advice. It's just that you really don't have to know everything. Like I said, like there are people like if you're a creative person, if you're a writer or you want to be making content or you're making art, you want to make it a business, you already know everything that you need to do in terms of your craft and you know your voice. That's so important, but you don't have to know how to do the money. You don't have to know how to design things. In fact, you don't even have to know how to do social media management because that's a different job. And if you want to do that job, then you can learn about it but I just really recommend asking for help, I think.
absolutely. Asking for help, I think this is
Yeah.
a highlight for this episode specifically, because how would you learn if you don't ask for help? You need to say, I don't know, in
Yeah.
order for you to start knowing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And actually, how would you balance currently, like your income, your work, and your wellness? So, how would you be able to keep a balance between?
Mm. In this phase of my life, I'm trying to build up savings and try to pay down debt. So I have asked a lot of questions. I've asked for help. I've had some really uncomfortable phone calls with like people at the bank, but eventually I found people who I really connected with and who could explain things to me in ways that I actually understood.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was so lucky. Like I kept calling my bank and, getting kind of random people. And then finally I just went in to the location like down the street and ended up like making a friend. Like this person was just so wonderful and they helped so much. And I think this is a me problem, but I'm sure some other people feel this way, is like I always want things to happen overnight.
Oh,
So
yes.
I think like, oh well, if I don't, have $100,000 in savings by next week, I'm a failure.
Look, I'll tell you one thing. Passionate people and people who can see like outside the box often think that way. But unfortunately, the negative side that comes with it is the lack of patience. Like we also need to understand that great things do take time, okay? Now, yeah, we may
Yeah.
try to, we don't want to work so hard, we want to work smart. But the thing is, in order to work smart, you have to like experiment with so much things. And one of the good things, the points you
Hmm.
mentioned, is about having savings. So right now you're gonna hear like a lot of like gurus online are talking about, oh, savings don't matter. You're losing money when you're having savings. But actually no, when you're having savings, savings allow you to have a risk, to play with the risks in order for you to
Yeah.
find what's best for you. But if you don't have savings, you're not gonna have the privilege of experimenting with things. And this is the harsh truth that I
Oh,
feel everybody needs to know.
that's such a beautiful way of putting it. Like it is a privilege that you can create for yourself.
All right. So also speaking of finances, a lot of people when they want to get started with social media, they either like undersell themselves or either they overprice their services. So how would you price your brand deals?
Hmm. This took me a long time to realize, because I definitely was underselling myself for a long time. It sounds so simple, but I just didn't realize how powerful it was until I was doing it. Was I created a
Yeah.
menu, and I thought about how long each thing took me, and I thought like, how much do I want to be paid
Mm,
per hour? So for a comedy video, I had to be honest with myself, like those take sometimes like a whole week for me to make. And some people are
mm,
way faster than me. I like to go back and forth on the brainstorming, and I like to take my time, and I'm proud of what I can do with that time. So I think at one point, yeah, it has changed definitely, because I know now doing a brand deal is very different than if I was doing it around 2018, 2019. Like I was working with like period cup companies and makeup companies, and I made a video like in Paris, like it was incredible. And now I think because I've changed and my presence has changed, my prices have definitely changed. I still think of it as an hourly, like what do I
okay.
want to be paid hourly? But I think I'm also more interested in collaborations instead of just brand deals. Also, I think facing financial hardship myself, I feel very sensitive about asking people to buy things.
Now we're gonna get a bit deeper. And what I would love to know about you is that what has
Okay.
becoming a content creator changed in you?
I think becoming a content creator has made me doubt myself and believe in myself. It has made me way less precious about my writing and my work
Mm.
in a good way, especially now. If you put anything out on the internet, it's like writing in the sand. The ocean's going to sweep it away. It has both made me doubt humanity and believe
Oh,
in humanity. I think the community of the internet is so powerful, and yeah, it's scary. It's made me feel really lucky that I have found people that feel like refuge just from all the noise
absolutely.
and the
And I think
negativity.
also I'm very grateful for the internet. I mean, I was able to meet you and you're literally on the opposite side of the world, but we're able to meet, sit
I
together, and
know.
then also give value to people while we're on completely two sides of the world, which is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a miracle.
And actually, what would you tell to somebody who wants to start their personal brand? They have a lot of tips and skills and value they want to share, but they feel like they're either stuck or ashamed and they can't get started.
First of all, I would say it's totally normal to feel those things. And I think every single person ever, no matter how confident they seem, has felt those feelings. So you're actually in really good company when you're feeling those things. You can imagine yourself sitting at a table with everyone else who's
Mm.
ever felt scared. and you'll see some really like some of your heroes there because it's
Exactly.
normal. And so it really comes down to you being honest with yourself, with what you want to spend your time, your beautiful, precious time
Exactly. A
on.
100%. And actually, the one thing that maybe stops people from writing now is that, okay, we have ChatGPT and we have DeepSeek and all of these competitions that are coming up, that writers who used to be like, like when you think about a writer like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and so on, is not the same as when you look at a writer right now. Where I want to go with that is that still a human being got its own touch. I would ask ChatGPT to write some things for me, and in the end, I would be like, no matter how I tell them, oh, make it playful, or make it humanly, or make it friendly, it never does. There's a touch of Sundus that only Sundus can do. There's a touch of Christina that Christina only can do. So even with, and thank God right now, a lot of platforms are integrating things that can scan AI and can tell the viewers right away, this is AI, so don't believe it. Whether it's a photo, it's a video, or it's even a text. So I just think one thing that don't get discouraged by
Mhm.
AI. Use AI to actually make your research process much easier. However, your writing will still be unique.
Yeah, you know what I used? I used ChatGPT the other day because I wrote a long blog post and I didn't know how I wanted to end it. I just felt like it was like a string hanging, like dangling. So I copied and pasted into ChatGPT and I was like, what do you think of this? And also, how do you think I should end it? And then it made a bunch of suggestions on how to end it, and I hated all of them. So it actually really helped me because I was like, okay, I hate that. I hate that idea. No, that's terrible. And then I was like, and then that opened a space in my brain where I was like,
Exactly.
oh, I know actually what I want to do. It's none of this, but it's it's
Exactly. Sometimes that's the
helpful.
thing. ChatGPT can be a good tool, like as a step to go on, but it cannot be the whole package. For sure. You are still the whole package. Just remember that.
Definitely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that we can, our brains and our hearts can really tell. It is that authenticity and ChatGPT. I keep thinking like AI has never been embarrassed. It has never taken a risk. It has never felt anything. It has never like not wanted to get out of bed
Uh-huh.
and then done it anyway. You know, like there's no way. There's just no freaking way it can replace human
Exactly.
art.
And this is the one thing that I keep telling everybody, like
Yeah.
even though AI is dominating in a lot of industries right now, is that same thing when the computer came out many, many years ago. When you're thinking about it, everybody thought, okay, the computer is going to take my job. But the difference is that no, you trained yourself on how to use the computer to better your job. So the same thing with AI. Think about how you can use AI to even become more creative, not like less creative and just shut your brain completely.
Yeah, make it do the stuff that takes the time that like if you need it to figure out how many hours I need to work this week to like be able to pay my bills, like
Exactly.
use it for that. Don't use it for the stuff that will make you feel better or that will like fill your cup. Like that they are stealing from
That's true.
yourself, honestly.
100%. This
Oof.
is a very good point that you have added there. Like, I think ChatGPT can do the things that you don't have to waste your time doing it. Like, sometimes if you have a very creative story, but you don't want to go line by line and check how you can make the space and stuff like that, what I would just do is just like write everything from my mind and then copy it, paste it in ChatGPT. I'm like, can you just please structure it for me properly? And bam, I have it done. And instead of me like wasting 5 minutes to do that, it's already there. Same thing with calculations, same thing with organizing. I
Hmm.
think like, yeah, it's really great for that overall.
Definitely.
And
Yeah,
actually, speaking
definitely.
of, and probably we're going to be ending with that, I have like two very deep questions, and I would love to do that with my guests. So please excuse me with that.
Oh, okay. Oh yes, how dare you?
So, first thing is, I would love to know what's the biggest mental health advice that makes you keep going and doesn't make you give up?
My favorite mental health advice that I tell myself is just that life is always way better or way worse than I ever could imagine. I want to see what happens next. I want to see what plot twist is up ahead. I think toxic positivity always makes me feel way worse. Like, I don't think
Yeah,
it's fair to say things are going to get so much better because, yeah, they are, but also they're going to get not better, also. Like, there's always this. There's always, always, always
absolutely.
good and bad. Don't try to be happy. Just try to be at peace,
Yes,
you
it's
know?
basically the concept of acceptance, all right? Like, I have seen many bad things that happen to people. And the one thing that I have seen, like, people above 80 specifically talk to me about is that it's the concept of acceptance. You need to know basically what is out of your control, and then you need to know what is within your control. What is within your control is something that you can still work on and make it better. But what's out of your control, the faster you accept and start to deal with it, the way you're gonna feel like life is livable, if that's a word or that makes sense. You'll feel like, yeah, you're able to live
Yeah.
this life. And if you would go back and talk to Christina 10 years ago, what would you tell her?
I don't know what I would say to her, but I definitely would tell her to go to bed and not pass out on the couch because we're gonna be like our neck's gonna be kind of wonky by the time we're 35. So if you could take care of that, that'd be great. And yeah, I think I would just get her a cup of water and tell her it's not that serious and it's really just the
Yeah.
beginning.
I think one thing you would want to tell her that it's okay. Like you will figure it out. Don't overstress so
Yeah.
much. I think a lot of people, specifically in their 20s, and now it's even becoming teenagers, they think that they're too old. Like they think that, oh, all right, there's this 18-year-old
I
who bought a Lambo, or they're making this much money off Shopify, and I don't know what. We're
Oh,
hearing all sorts of things. So then, like as a 25-year-old, as a 30-year-old, you're just like, am I a loser? Is something is wrong with me? And it's really important to like really
yes.
reflect back that in our 20s, we're basically the babies of the adulthood. We're just getting started. So,
Yeah, totally. This is one of the goals of my book was really to make your goals more about how you are. Like I used to have a I used to have a therapist who used to say, you're a human being, not a
oh,
human doing. So it's not about what you're doing, it's about how you're being. So if you make your goals to be kind, to be curious, to be open, to be excited even on the days where you can muster just a little excitement for like the cup of coffee in the morning. You are doing it. You are reaching your goal.
absolutely.
So,
And
oof.
Christina, honestly, this was such a beautiful and a very, very deep episode, to be honest. I think this is one of the deepest episodes I've had, by the way. So, if someone wants to be coached by you, whether it's in content creation or in writing a book, how can they reach you?
You can go to my website, ChristinaWolfgram.com, or you know what? Email me. I'm the seawolf at gmail.com. Please, I'd love to hear from you.
All right,
Yeah,
awesome.
yes, please.
All right,
I'd
so
love
all
to work with
details are
you.
going to
Yeah.
be on the screen, and also it's going to be down in the description box. So, thank you so much, Christina. And there is one last thing we want to say. This episode proved to us that you don't need a viral hit to prove your worth. You just need a story and the courage to tell it, even when no one is watching. Christina, thank you so much for sharing yours today.
Oh, thank you so much. You are so inspiring, and I love your energy and I love what you're putting out into the world. So thank you for asking me to be a part of it. I appreciate it.